it was a bit of a damp squib, as the British say. Just it didn't deliver for retailers in particular.
No, it sure didn't. Retailers had all of the pain and almost none of the gain associated with this holiday break. It ends this Saturday after a 2-month period. I think it was 4% of retailers said that they saw an increase in sales, but almost all of them told us that they had massive administrative costs to try to put this thing in place. I mean, there were all sorts of bizarre new categories, like some dolls were exempt, other dolls not. Some sets of model airplanes exempt, others not. It was a huge hassle. Businesses, in some cases, had to go through by hand 75,000 SKUs they sell to figure out which ones it applied to, make educated guesses, and now we're at risk of an audit. And the average business spent $1,000 just to put the tax holiday in place because they had to reprogram their point of sale machines. Those are the hard costs. And with only 4% of retailers saying it increased sales, 5% of small businesses overall, there was no reward for the work that you put in.
Your take in part was that big retailers may have done better than this because they have more elaborate accounting systems?
Yeah, look, if you've got a big store, you got 200 locations, you have to do this once for all of your systems. If you're a small business, you have to do this. Each individual business had to go through the hassle themselves. There was no great guide to this. I tried to make heads or tails of some of the categories and couldn't. For restaurant owners, it was a little bit better than that. About 15% of them said that they saw an increase in sales as a result. But even there, far from a majority of restaurant owners saw a benefit from the holiday. And they too had implementation costs, especially the reprogramming. This weekend, on Saturday night, every business that opens Saturday and Sunday has to continue to exempt the right products until the close of business this Saturday, and then attach the tax back as of Saturday night, so that Sunday morning they can start charging it again. That means that Saturday night, virtually every business that opens over the weekend will have to have somebody come in and reprogram their point of sale systems. It is a mess even now.
You're saying that you're asking CRA to offer some forgiveness and flexibility here where disputes arise.
Yeah, look, I've said several times, if I get a single case of a CRA auditor slamming the book at a small business because they charged tax on a doll that they shouldn't, or they didn't charge tax on a set of Lego where they were supposed to, I will lose it. And the CRA has told us, they've put this in writing, that they're going to use fair and reason to excuse good faith errors along the way. That hasn't been the small business experience with CRA over the years, but I sure hope it happens, because otherwise I'm going to have a lot of lobbying to do in April and May when these audits begin.
You think maybe a $1,000 credit could be given to small businesses that racked up these extra admin or accounting costs?
Yeah, when we asked our members how much just the hard costs to reprogram their point of sales machines would be, they told us that it would be on average $1,000 per business. And so for businesses that to make them at least somewhat whole, to make sure that the CRA could, with the Government of Canada's blessing, put a $1,000 credit in everyone's GST, HST account, so that at least they've covered the administrative costs associated with this. I predict that most firms will lose money as a result of this GST holiday because they didn't see the sales increase and yet had a whole bunch of new costs in order to put it in place. That's just not fair. This happened at the busiest time of year in mid-December to put the tax on. And of course, now they have to undo the damage. I think when this is all said and done, we're going to look back on this and realize that we just shifted sales from certain weeks to other weeks by doing it. And that is what the international studies have shown with respect to holidays on sales taxes in the past.
Anecdotally, I heard that this return counters of some retailers were full. People were bringing back stuff they'd bought and paid the sales tax on and wanted to return it and then buy it with no sales tax.
Yeah, and that same thing could happen next week because people are purchasing some goods, say toys or children's clothes, without GST or HST right now. If they go and return those items next week, is there a possibility that the merchant is going to refund the GST that they did not pay? Because the point of sale system will have already been reprogrammed to attach the tax back to both sales and returns. This was, again, an idea that was born out of politics, not out of any economic sense. And there's so many taxes that desperately need a reduction. We chose to do a temporary and complicated one instead.
So Chrystia Freeland, the former finance minister, stepped down, and she complained of gimmicks under the Trudeau government. I don't think she specifically said what she meant, but presumably it was something like this.
No, that's exactly right. When she was talking about some of the measures at year end that were very temporary in nature, like this, she used the word gimmicky. In fact, that is exactly the word that I used to describe this once she announced it only a few weeks earlier. But look, this is not the right way to do tax policy. Meanwhile, we can't get clarity from CRA whether the carbon tax rebates that were paid are taxable or not. The capital gains issue dragged on for weeks and weeks, with business owners expected to pay at a higher rate than in fact was legislated. Those are the things that government needs to address, not foolish tax holidays that don't move the dial.